To keep the momentum going, 2,000 tide turner champions have received in-depth advocacy training through Ocean Heroes boot camps and will be mentored going forward. Youth truly are the change makers, and I'm very happy you're going to meet some of them here today. I would now like to invite Ms. Inger Andersen, the Executive Director of UNEP, to give a special welcome to the youth and highlight the important work that UNEP is doing with and for the youth. Inger, over to you.
Well, thank you, Diane, and really a huge thank you for all that you do. Your voice, your engagement, your example and your model. We are very, very grateful to see you take this strong leadership role on so many environmental aspects and issues and priorities. So we deeply thank you. And to all the young people here, what a pleasure it is. And I'm going to be very fast because I really want to hear from you and not take all the time in my talking. But just to mention a few things here, you know, this Tide Turners program has really, as we just heard now from Dia, made a lot of progress. We're impressed that nearly 500,000 young people have come through the program. It has enabled everyone to listen and understand and engage with the challenges, from the Scouts and Girl Guides to many others across the world. We've seen the program, as we just heard, in 32 countries, and this is really significant because the power of youth is phenomenal. And that's really very important because you lift the issue, you push the issue, you demand on the issue, and we thank you for that. It is really about not making young people responsible for the problems, because the problems belongs to everyone, but you have a moral right to speak about the world you want, because it is yours to be, and it is yours right now, but it is also many of those in power who will leave it to you in a shape that you may not wish. And so it has to be about all hands on deck from every side to address that triple planetary crisis that we speak about in UNEP: the climate crisis, the biodiversity and nature loss crisis, and the pollution and waste crisis. And so that powerful voice that you bring is really so significant. And here we're very proud to be working with youth and celebrating youth leadership in the new youth task force, in the young champions of the earth, in the tide turners. As was just mentioned, we have also over 1,000 universities that have committed to going net zero in their own footprint. And we do a lot of reskilling and upskilling for young people for the green economy. And just a few months out, we will be celebrating Stockholm at 50, plus 50, which will be a real opportunity to accelerate progress. Now, here we are in UNEP at the United Nations Environment Assembly, and there are a number of important decisions on the table, but I will highlight for you that I do believe that there's one decision that the member states hopefully will take in the next few days that is clearly the most important moment since Paris Accord in 2015. And that concerns plastic pollution, with which many of you have really engaged. We produce about 11 million tons of plastic that goes into the oceans annually. Since the 50s till today, we produced 9 billion tons of plastic. 7 billion tons of that is in fact waste. And so we need to think about, obviously, going circular. And on the docket for decision in this United Nations Environment Assembly is a decision to stop plastic pollution from source to sea with a binding agreement, legally binding agreement that would seek to ensure that there's a level playing field on plastic, that we don't have it ending up in landfills. Today, 76% of all our plastic ends up in landfill or dumps, and to ensure that we can close that leak into the oceans, because that's a huge bill to society. So we're very, very hopeful that at this United Nations Environment Assembly, the member states will have the courage to agree that we need to have a new global agreement for plastic, for halting plastic pollution. It's a real opportunity. And I want to thank you because many of you have been very active in this work, whether it's beach cleanups, whether it's awareness raising, whether it's impacting. Your influence has been significant, and it's only possible with that kind of engagement and activism. That's how we can deliver this. You vote with your actions as well as with your votes, and your influence is really significant. An early Secretary General of the United Nations called Dag Hammarskjöld, who tragically died in a plane crash, said, "Never measure the height of a mountain until you have reached the top. Then you will see how small it was." Let that be the spirit in which we have this conversation. Let me hand it back over to you.
Thank you so much, Inger. I really, really hope that member states sign this agreement and act on it, because God knows we need it. We really do. I would now like to introduce the Tide Turners champions. This is going to be so special. They're all present with us here today as our very special guests, and I would like to tell them to tell us about their Tide Turners journey and throw light on the progress that they've made in their communities while tackling the issue of single-use plastic, and what were some of the challenges that they had to face, and are they going to continue keeping up with their efforts or campaigns. Each of you will get 3 minutes, as I've already briefed you earlier. And as I read your name and I introduce you, that's the cue for you to speak, and then I will introduce the next champion. Are we ready? Okay, let's start with Sneha Shahi from India, also known to some as the Crocodile Girl. Sneha worked with her team of friends to clean the section of the Buki River on her university campus in Gujarat, which led to the return of crocodiles and flapjack turtles in the river. Thank you, Sneha. Please go ahead and tell us about your interventions.
Thank you, Dia. Thank you so much. It's been a really long journey, and I still remember that during the first phase of the Tide Turners, I was actually a moderator for a panel wherein Dia was speaking about plastics. And it's from there to becoming a speaker has been a long and beautiful journey with its challenges and overwhelming responses, no doubt. And I started working on Tide Turners in 2019 with the support of my college and Center for Environment Education, and with about 350 students going all about the district, surveying people and all the stakeholders, be it police, local authorities, shopkeepers, roadside vendors, and like gaining information as to what they understand with the term single-use plastics, and are they able to differentiate between the different types of plastics, and are they even aware about the alternatives that are available for them. And then the analysis of the survey, because I come from a science background, I use those terms a lot. With all the analysis of the data that we got, the people were actually healthily wanting to make a switch to alternatives. But those alternatives are not very readily available in the market for them. So how do we create a market for these kind of alternatives? So we started looking at that, and then we switched again to cleaning the rivers and the streams, because as Inger said, from source to sea, we have to stop the pollution. So we found out the sources, and then we found out these links, which were these small streams, which link to rivers and then ultimately to our oceans. So Bhuki was one such stream. It's 7.5 kilometers, and it's a habitat for turtles and crocodiles, as Dia mentioned. And they were already there, and we didn't bring them back, but they were already there. It was their habitat that was being affected by plastic. And when we cleaned it with about 700 kgs of thermocol and plastic waste coming out of the stream, they again came back to, retake their own habitat and then flourish there beautifully. And then earlier we used to have a joke that this stream or this gutter cannot house a crocodile. And we were amazed to see like 3 crocodiles in a stretch in a day. And then we realized that this is a very important part of the ecosystem, an urban ecosystem, and it needs to be protected that way. So armed with all the perception studies and all the scientific knowledge that we could gather, the university gave us a chance to create a team of 10 students who then went on to do plastic analysis, microplastic analysis, and then promote the alternatives to single-use plastic. Some challenges were actually convincing people as to the stream is not a gutter, and then people telling us that why are you so concerned about mapping out a stream? Because streams generally go unrecognized, and people map the rivers and the lakes, but never these linking factors which are streams, and they are equally important. So then with all of this knowledge and the challenges, we went on to social media, and not just that, we found out other modes of communication like radio and newspapers, which are often neglected when we're talking about social activism. And we did it in Hindi, Gujarati, and English, and received an overwhelming response from the people in Vadodara. And then later on, after a year, it got momentum, and we are still getting responses from people who want to know about how to clean a stream, how to approach the issue, and yeah, so on. So yeah, thank you so much for having me, and getting to know you people, getting to know all of your stories is something I look forward to. And yeah, back to you, Dia.
Thank you so much, Neha. Congratulations. May your good work continue, and may you continue to inspire all of us. I'm now going to introduce our next speaker, who is from East Africa and Kenya. Alicia Mora, she's a girl guide from Kenya who has trained over 5,000 youth on Tide Turners Challenge and has organized sensitization events in her community, carried out street cleanups, and has developed solutions on better ways to dispose waste in Kisii County. Over to you, Alicia.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dia, and greetings to you all. Yeah, so quick one. So the problem that I was trying to solve from my area is first was I was trying to stop the burning of the plastics openly because it's not safe to the human health, and number two was to stop single-use plastics, or rather reduce the usage of the single-use plastics, and then also to stop this careless disposal of plastics, especially from the moving vehicles. And so what I did was we did the street cleanups, and also we had banners, printed banners, and also t-shirts where we could wear, and then we could also invite the local government from the Kisii, from the western region of Kenya. So we could invite the local government to join hands, people from NEMA, National Environment Management Authority. So they could come together, and then in doing that, we could also invite people from media, especially the national television, where everyone, at least from the world, or rather Kenya, can see what we're doing, and also the local television for those who are not able to understand what we're doing, or rather understand the English or Swahili, because we really want to reach the grassroots. And what you also did from the cleanups, from the streets, from the rivers, we realized that we really have a lot of plastics that we have collected, but then what is the solution towards this? We started a recycling facility. So we had our friends from Australia who were able to see what we were doing. And from the research, we realized we could easily be able to recycle the plastics to other products. And now we have a recycling facility in Kisii. It's called Precious Plastics. You can check online. And then another one in Kisumu, Manyata. It's also in the western region of Kenya. It's called the Precious Plastics, Manyata. So what we're doing, we're collecting all these plastics, and we also recycle. I'll quickly show you an example of my earrings are actually from recycled plastics. We have like balls, we have pegs.
Wow.
We have flower vases for the indoor, and we also have for outdoor flower vases. And we're also thinking, because of Corona now, we can also make face shields. Yeah, so we're making face shields for those people working in public spaces. And also what we are doing, when we're moving around the schools, we encourage the schools which didn't have environmental clubs to at least have an environmental club, which will ensure that the students do not dirty the space, or also they don't bring so much plastics. So we really started so many environmental clubs, and in these environmental clubs, we had teachers guiding them to print posters all over the school to keep reminding the students. And also we had at least the Kisii County government, it's my local government, to also have litter bins designated in different places, and also the labels, so that people separate the waste so that it makes it easy for the recyclers to get the waste. Yeah, and of course, having done all that, I can't say like there was no challenge at all. We had a few challenges also. A few challenges was because it was really 100% voluntary basis. So sometimes I could get like a budget constraints because you need to prepare like t-shirts, and then sometimes while collecting and cleaning the streets, some people could throw, because they could read UNEP, they could throw the waste on us like, hey, you guys are working, okay, I'll give you my work to do. Yeah, and also sometimes involving the media people, they also want some kickbacks because they are like, okay, you want us to feature that, you'll pay us something. But then we overcame that. And the recent one that I did is I was invited to the local television on 9th of February this month, and I was able to talk about plastic like in 1.5 hours. And right now I'm receiving numerous calls and messages to go to more schools to train more and also tell them about plastics. And also what I was doing, whenever we visit a school, we could also plant a tree, 1 or 2 trees to leave like a mark behind. Yeah, thank you very much, Dia. Back to you.
How wonderful, Alicia. Thank you so much for all your interventions, and thank you for continuing to do this amazing work that you're doing. Now we have Rushali Khilrani from India. She's a student of computer science from the Delhi University. She was shocked to learn that most of the commercial menstrual sanitary pads were made of plastics, just as I was shocked. And not only did she make her a switch herself, she has convinced many people to make the switch. She conducted a very strong social media campaign and workshops and convinced women to shift to plastic-free sustainable menstrual products. Rushali, over to you.
Thank you so much, Sia, and greetings to everybody. So a few years back, I came across this fact that almost 90% of sanitary napkin is made of plastic, and over 121 million women in India use a sanitary napkin as their primary period product, leaving behind almost 9,000 tons of sanitary plastic waste, that too just in India. Belonging to an all-girls engineering college myself, I realized how enormous this problem is. And when I talked about it with my classmates, I realized that they also personally related to it. That's when we formed a team of 30 young girls and started conducting workshops in various colleges of India. Uh, Moving ahead, we realized that it's not just important to create awareness, providing them with alternatives was also very important. We did our research and we found out that there are alternatives like a menstrual cup, like cloth pads, like biodegradable pads, and we started carrying them along with us to every college that we went to. Sooner we realized that a lot of young women were joining in, and we were able to make sure that almost 300 plus women were able to make a switch. Online, we started a lot of campaigns, and more than 30,000 people joined in. Moving forward, by now, we've been able to reduce almost 35,000 kgs of sanitary waste from ending in landfills, and that feels amazing. And because of that, we've been trying to make sure that we make all these products available to people around, because not many of these products are available in pharmacies that we go to. So moving ahead, we'll soon be starting our own website where all these products are available to anybody who needs these. We had a lot of challenges while moving ahead in this journey. The first one being the taboo that everybody has in India when it comes to talking about menstruation. And we were dealing with an audience ranging from 15 years to 50 years. So we had to make sure that the conversation is comfortable for everybody. Mothers should be able to talk to their children about it and help them make the switch early in their life, so that it continues to generations forward. And that is when we made sure that the content that we deliver to everybody is friendly for our audience. When the pandemic hit, we could no longer conduct offline workshops, so we moved to an online mode. And that is when we were able to reach more than 5 states of India, and people from different states of India came to us and that is how we have sustainability ambassadors in all other states of India too. Moving ahead, we started our own Instagram shop where people can very easily buy the products. I mean, we youth, they're very much into all the social media platforms, so we knew how to harness the power of social media, and that is how we kept moving forward. So that is my story. Not just that, on the environment day recently, a national news channel, Doordarshan News, also showcased our story for their Environment Day program. So that is when a lot of more people reached out to us, and the story and the hands have been growing on ever since.
That's fantastic, Rushali. Thank you so much. More power to you and your cause, and may your tribe just keep growing. I'm going to now introduce Mansi Thakur to you. She's also from India. A young student of geology, mobilized the Environment Conservation Youth Club from Mahua to carry out beach cleanings and maintenance. The efforts brought the green sea turtles back to Mahua Beach to hatch eggs, a process that had been terminated because of the tons of plastic litter on the beach. This is just so amazing. Mansi, over to you.
Thank you so much, Diya ma'am. Namaste, everyone. I am Mansi and belong to the Mora district situated at the eastern coast of Gujarat, state of India. We have been organizing cleanup drives on the Bhavani beach from last 61 weeks, every Sunday. Until now, we have collected more than 6 tons of plastic waste. My story started with observing the plastic litter on the beach and marine creatures suffering from it. I wanted to do something about it, and that's when I joined Environment Conservation Youth Club. This club was a group of young people like me who were committed to cleaning the Bhavani beach. Earlier, we were not so many in numbers, and today we are more than 200 volunteers strong. Our vision is to make the entire coastal region of Gujarat plastic free. Me with my colleague Jaideep Jani joined the Tide Turner Challenge last year as we were curious to learn about real life skill to solve this modern problem. As we moved ahead, we became more confident. At the leader level, the task was to reuse the single-use plastic, and after a lot of research, we got to know the concept of eco-bricks. We started work on this concept. These eco-bricks are currently made on a small scale due to lack of proper equipment, but we are planning to expand to a city level soon. We also faced a lot of challenges along the way and were able to overcome some of them. As I come from a small city, it was very difficult for girls like me to work at the ground level. After a long time and due to constant support from other members and especially from Jaideep Jani, who is just 20 years old and founder of Environment Conservation Youth Club, I continued. Now motivated by me, more than 20 girls are also actively participating. Our important challenge, which we are still facing, is making the right linkage with the waste collectors, recyclers, and obtaining support from the local authority. While we have the capacity to collect the plastic waste, it's becoming difficult to send it to the right place. If there is a local municipal support, we can do wonders with the plastic collected. On the other hand, behavior change among the people is still a huge issue. While we collect plastic every Sunday, littering happens daily. We raised funds from our group to spread awareness using multimedia banners and even providing dustbins at the beach. The forest department supported us in many ways, but we currently cannot collect public fines. And we are trying our best to collaborate with the government authority on this issue. Lastly, I would like to say that for all of us, the Conservation Club, it was easy to think, but putting our thought into action was extremely difficult. However, with the belief that a good plan implemented today is better than a perfect plan implemented tomorrow, we will continue doing our bit, especially to see the impact, as we currently seeing in the form of dolphins and sea turtle returning on the clean beach. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mansi. More power to you. It's incredible that you are persisting, and may you continue to persist. And I hope that the local authorities and governments help you make the links that you need to make, especially to manage your waste better. Now, all the way from India, we go back to Africa, and in particular, West Africa. Please welcome Rosamond from Ghana. She has engaged in several beach cleanups to collect and dispose of plastic waste across her community. One of those cleanups in Winneba, Ghana, led her to write to government officials in that city with suggestions on how to better manage plastic waste. That work and tenacity earned her the distinction as Outstanding Participant for the Tide Turners Challenge. Over to you, Rosamond.
Thank you, dear. Greetings to everyone. I'm Rosamond and I'm from Ghana. When I started this challenge, I knew nothing about plastic waste, but a friend actually asked me to take up this challenge. And as of then, I was a volunteer of Macintosh Africa, which is an organization that is into recycling of plastic waste. So I decided to pick up the challenge, knowing nothing about plastics, research something into it, and then continue with my challenge. So I remember there were times where I'll have to work in stores. So I went to Palace Mall in Tema. So when I went there, I asked to speak with the manager of Palace Mall, but I was told I can't speak with the manager. And I said, oh, just give me 2 minutes. Let me just see him. I just want to discuss something with him. But then it looks like the middlemen were just trying to make things difficult for me. So I found my way out, got in touch with the manager, and I proposed something to him. Actually, when I went there to do some groceries. So I proposed to him that, so what if everybody came in with a reusable bag? How much coins or how much amount would you have saved from having to print out more single-use plastics? And he kind of signed into what I was saying, but he just didn't know how to go about it. And then he asked me, so what do I think? And I said, maybe we could think about a discount to given out to people anytime they come to shop with reusable bags. So he told me he was going to further this communication with his people and then get back to me. But moving on, I kind of did a lot of follow-ups, but I never heard from him again. And I was involved in beach cleanups, like you said. I did one with some organizations at Winneba, and then also with Plastic Punch and Macintosh Africa. And then also I was invited to Daily Guide Network. I think most people didn't know about this network, but when I had the chance to go there, I recommended to people, and it actually was a good platform because it gave me the opportunity to speak about plastic waste, what I have done so far, and what I'm thinking of doing. So I also got the opportunity to write to the municipal of Winneba after the beach cleanup, suggesting ways that I think can help us reduce plastic waste. And also another challenge that I came across, like hidden reply. There was no reply. After all the follow-ups, there were no reply. So I'll say that the challenge was not easy because there were times where you try to convince people, and a lot of people seems to be climate denials. They don't really understand the concept of what climate action is. Some people still don't believe that climate action is caused by human actions. So it's sometimes difficult to convince them because of the perspective that they have. And I realized one thing, that the cultural beliefs of the people were also a big deal for us, because one of the beach cleanups that I went at Winneba, after collecting the waste, in Ghana, we know Zoom Lion collect waste, but Zoom Lion told us that they can't collect our waste, even though we had separated the plastic from the other waste, but they told us they can't collect. So it was difficult for us to find ways to transport this plastic that has been segregated. And the community people told us to bury this waste back in the soil, just at the shores of the beach. But we were trying to convince them that burying them will not solve the problem. But it was difficult for them to understand that this is the problem. And they told us it is something that they've been doing. So anytime they go to clean the beach, they bury it again. So it's just like doing a zero work, because burying it will not solve anything. Yes, that was a big challenge for me, because the beliefs of the people is a difficult thing that it takes time to change. And then also with another beach cleanup at Sakomono Beach, a group of elders came around and told us that if there are any girls among us that has menstruated, the person cannot cross the beach because there was a river before just at the shores of the beach. So he told us the person cannot cross because it is seen as dead for the gods. And I was like, so if the gods see menstruation as dead, how much more this plastic that we are collecting from the river? Don't they see that as waste? Don't they see that as filth? And it was kind of, you are being rude to your elders. So it's just one of those things. Yeah. So that was actually another challenge. So the policymakers, and then the beliefs of the people were a big challenge for us. And another challenge was also with transportation, because few of the people who agreed to segregate their waste to help reduce plastic waste, to shop with reusable bags, were finding it difficult as to where to keep their segregated plastic waste, because it felt like, okay, fine, I've segregated my plastic waste, I have the plastic bottles, where do I take them to? So the few organizations that recycle with them do their best to collect these bottles, but sometimes the distance from where you may be and where this organization may be a challenge for them as well. So this collected plastic waste ends up at the shores, back it mixes with the other waste, and then we get to do nothing with them because it is seen as filth in their houses, because they have no one to come for them. They have nothing to do with them. So one of the good things that I picked from the challenge was to do something, create something out of this plastic that we actually segregate, because I was able to do a pen holder for myself with the use of plastic bottle. I didn't know how to do it. It was actually new to me, but because of that step in the challenge, I had to do something new for myself. So it's actually helped me to find ways and means, new ways of reusing and recycling plastic waste. And yes, moving forward, I'm still continuing with the challenge, and I'm hoping to add food waste as well, which is also a part that we don't really talk about, but then is really causing more effects to our global warming. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rosamond. You know, it's so true. We all know, every one of us who's been a part of beach cleanups, I think, recognizes how big a challenge it is to deal with the waste that we collect once we have collected it. So there are big gaps between the institutions that are supposed to be managing the waste, are supposed to be helping and doing better, and also, of course, getting the waste to the systems that can make it a part of the circular economy. There's a lot of work to be done, but it starts with young people like you, Rosamond, to take action and ask the right questions and seek solutions. So please keep it up. Last but not the least, and the only gentleman who is here to inspire us this evening, is coming back to India now, Aditya Mukherjee. Of course, I know you, Aditya. We've interacted on several occasions. Aditya is 17 years old, and he has averted the use of 26 million, hold your breath, plastic straws in India. He joined the Tide Turners during the lockdown and has evolved his campaign to work with recyclers on plastic waste, and is encouraging policymakers to act. Now, the good news is that the Indian government has made an announcement that by June 2022, there's a long list of single-use plastic items that are going to be no longer available in India. Of course, the plastic bag is not a part of that list, but the plastic straw is. So Aditya, how much of an achievement do you see that in the work that you're doing?
To answer that question first, it's a huge achievement. I've been calling for a systemic ban since the first time we spoke in 2018 at the UN. I called for a systemic ban, and it's finally happened after 4 years, but it's a journey. It's happened. 40% of the single-use plastics have been banned, and all that within another few years, that's the packaging material, will also be banned. But it's a major step because now one can truly help fight the change from the resistance that has been given to us from the corporate world. But those are challenges that I'll come to at the end of my talk. So building up upon my work against single-use plastics and waste management through internship at the UNDP and other organizations, I started the Tide Turner Challenge in March of 2020. This is before the pandemic actually became a problem. So I was really hoping to do a more physical campaign, but the pandemic forced me to go online, and I shifted my focus to a very important problem: lack of individual social responsibility. And I tackle this through advocacy and identification of three factors: the youth and children, institutions, and the government. Youth and children being the first point of entry. I've known through my school environment that if a change needs to be brought about in a family, it is best to approach the children. The younger they are, the more they influence the decisions of their family when it comes to environment, to nature, towards the activities of the family. And if one is able to really teach them about the problems that we face in the environment, it is a long way in winning the battle as compared to convincing an adult, because adults have a preconceived notion of what is right and what is wrong. And it's very difficult to break that notion and build a new notion for them. And institutions, well, there've always been a problem of resistance from them, whether it's corporates refusing to give up single-use plastics, or refusing to go with pollution norms, or societies and condominiums refusing to enforce waste management rules because it's just inconvenient for them to do so. And then the government. Well, the government has always accepted every proposal. There's not been too much implementation of their own laws and policies. But that being said, in the Tide Turner Challenge, I was able to convince a sitting member of parliament, Dr. Shashi Tharoor, to go single-use plastic free in his constituency, to advocate for it. And he did make a speech supporting my work for Earth Day 2020 and for the Tide Turner Challenge. Then I spoke to the youth and children through Zoom calls and reached out to nearly 450 to 500 children, and not only told them about the problem, but helped them come up with their own small ideas, small initiatives that they can take in their individual level. Because in the field of environment, no action is too big or too small. Everyone's actions matter equally, because it is the change which matters, not the amount of change I've delivered as an individual, but the quality of the change. Then there was online campaigning. Social media played a huge role in the beginning part of the pandemic, with with several online campaigns being run. And for Earth Day 2020 and Titan Challenge, I was able to convince over 100 people to give up any three single-use plastics from their lives. And this was just a small change that I brought about following my motto of refuse if you cannot reuse, to leave the world a little better than you found it.
Wonderful, Aditya. Thank you so much. My God, it's been so amazing listening to all of you. Thank you for your action, each and every one of you. Inger, I'm going to pass this on to you now. I'm sure you have lots of questions to ask to these amazing young tide turners. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Dia, and to all of you. This is just amazing and so impressive. And each story has, I can just imagine how much work and how hard it would have been, and how, when I listened to Rosamund and, elders refusing that you cross the river if the girls were menstruating, and you go, oh no, when the pads are there, in the waste. And so, and you are doing this amazing work. So I can really see the challenges, but let me just ask a few questions. Maybe I start with Sneha, who was the first. You, Dia, said crocodile girl, but as amazing work there. And it would be interesting, because if I understood well, Sneha is studying science and has a focus on science. And so it'd be really interesting to have an understanding. Now, the students did this work. Did this carry over into the curriculum in some ways, that the day you graduate out, will there be other, how did the teachers and the professors pick this up? It'll be very interesting for us to hear.
Yeah, so it's actually the case to make sure that the campaign and the work keeps going on. We have this rolling process. So I was in my master's final when I did the campaign, and now my juniors from bachelor's are now continuing to do it. While I've moved on to my PhD, they are still doing it. I'm still guiding them for it, and they're still monitoring the stream. They're still getting on a call with me every now and then. This has happened. How do we handle it? And as for the curriculum, it's now a part of daily analysis in the laboratory work that is done. So this stream was earlier used for sampling, and now it's also used for monitoring the biodiversity and like looking at how it's managing the flood in the city. So yeah, they've been monitoring it and keeping it in the curriculum and keeping the momentum going.
That's so interesting. I'm going to ask a quick follow-up and then I'll move on to Alicia. But just to say, did you also, because of biodiversity, that's so interesting to see that coming back. It was always there, but it was not that visible. And all of a sudden it becomes visible, as you mentioned. But about the plastics, did someone, maybe not your team, but did others look at the originators and get a sense of that?
Yeah, so actually we did find the sources were these small bridges on these streams, because it's so easy for people to just come out of their houses and throw the waste from the bridges. And one good outcome from it was, after a few months of monitoring and awareness programs, we actually saw a fight one day wherein a tea stall vendor was fighting with the local people for not throwing the garbage. And he was explaining to them what we had explained to him about plastic and the waste getting clogged up in the stream. So that was beautiful to watch, that the people are taking responsibility because they put in that much amount of effort and passion into it. So they're trying to protect it by themselves. So it's become a sustaining model in itself. And yeah, it feels very good to see that happen.
Well, that's wonderful. That's sort of like the pebble in the water and the rings being created. That's just beautiful, Sneha. And thank you so much for your great work. Let's move to Kenya, where I am right now. And now I will speak to Alicia. And I'm just so impressed with what you spoke about. And we saw your products. That's amazing. So what I wanted to ask, how did you find funders? Because it takes some startup capital to get the production into place. And so that would be interesting, I'm sure, for others to hear how you went about finding these initial funders that could help you with the product. And I have one other question for you, but let's start with this one.
Okay, thank you very much. So how it came to me, the funders is they were in Kenya, and when we were doing all these trainings, we would update on our on the online platforms. So I had created a Beat Plastic Pollution page, which I was updating each and every time that I could do the training together with my trainees. So from online, they got to see what we are doing, and then they got in touch. Then they visited Kisii, which we had done like a prototype of a recycling facility. But in Kisii, we were sponsored at least by the Kisii County government, gave us a space. And we also got a team from the Netherlands to show us what we can do. So when they visited to see the prototype, they were really excited. And when they listened to our story, what we were doing, they were excited about that. They promised, like, once you get back to Australia, we're going to support you. And once they got back there, actually, they sponsored us. And it said, like, because now their funds, they could only sponsor in Kisumu, Manyata. So they could not do it in Kisii, but all the same, is still the plastic, is still the same menace that we're dealing with. So that's how we started the recycling here.
That's wonderful. And on the open burning, which is such a big issue, 10,000 chemicals are released when we burn plastic, and we breathe it in, and it's very, very bad for us. What kind of, have you done some education for communities so that they understand, especially children, growing children, our brains, our lungs, how it impacts us? Any conversations you can tell us about briefly, and then I'll go next to Roshali.
Yeah, about the burning, what we were doing during the trainings, I had prepared a PowerPoint presentation with lots of pictures and lots of videos and few words, because normal pictures and videos communicate better than words. So we had prepared a PowerPoint presentation. We had videos where we could see someone burning the plastics and how much the person could inhale the gases. And then in the long term now, there's I'm not from that area, like I didn't study that. I'm a mathematician and economist by profession, so I wouldn't say lots of that. But then in the long run, someone can even get cancer from that. And then you could also see from the videos how someone could sneeze from inhaling the gases. So that's how we could do it with the kids. And also our parents, especially from the merry-go-rounds that we could attend and train them. Yeah, so those are the kind of videos we could do. And also we could also organize the kids with some sweets like tropicals, so that the kids could eat the sweets, and then we could monitor how they throw the plastics, the polythene wrappers. And then once they throw that, and then you could ask them to collect that, and then how do you dispose that? Someone could easily raise a hand and say, we burn that. And then someone would say, we throw that in the farm. Yeah, so after the answers, then we could tell them what they can do to make sure it doesn't harm them and the environment. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that and amazing work. Let's hear from Rushali, who really stepped into something where you recognized in your presentation that there are taboos and complexities and cultural uncomfortableness in some places regarding this. So I am so impressed with what you did. So I'm really interested. Did you have resistance from oh, no, we don't speak about that. I think you were empowered because you were an all-girls school, but this is me thinking that, but it'll be very interesting to hear on that.
Yes, so initially, in fact, in our own teams, when you talk about, most of us in India are comfortable using sanitary napkins and not very comfortable using menstrual cups. So switching to that is for somebody, for independent women, it's kind of easy to make a switch to that. But when you talk about school kids, kids who have just started menstruating, convincing their moms that I don't want to use this conventional product, I want to use a menstrual cup that goes inside my body. So talking about it to students, to 15-year-old girls, was a little complex. So once after one of our workshops, a student came to me and she said that I understand what the problem is and I want to contribute to it, but I'm not sure of how to make my mom aware about it. So when we did this workshop in their school, we made sure that we also do a similar workshop for parents of all those students in that school. We explained it to them. That's how the conversation started going ahead. Even WWF India helped us to talk to there's this thing called Resident Welfare Association in every area of our city. So we talked to them. They organized they helped us organize a workshop specially for moms of these children, and that's how we were able to make sure that even the kids are able to make a switch.
Fantastic. That's really fantastic. And on your Instagram shop, how many menstrual cups have you sold? How is it going? And we need a sort of fairly small, quick answer because I have 3 more people I want to speak to.
Yeah. So on our Instagram shop, we currently have almost 6 to 7 brands. We sell different kinds of products. Like some of the brands have good quality of menstrual cups. Some might have good quality of cloth pads. So that's how it has been going. We collaborate directly with the brands, so they sometimes also offer like a coupon code where people can get it for a price lower than what they get on e-commerce websites. So that is how it has been going. For now, more than 80 people have contacted us on our Instagram workshop and on our Instagram shop, and soon we would convert that shop to our website.
That's fantastic. I think I've gotten so excited, dear, that I'm gone too far. But let me just
I'm sure everybody who's listening in is learning so much. So please keep going.
Well, I'm going to go very quickly. So I asked Mansi Mansi and Rosamond and Aditya to be very brief. And my apologies, I'm bad, but I'm so interested in what you're talking about here. So Mansi, studying geology is such an interesting field, and then looking at waste collection and making the linkage between beach and waste collection, and then seeing the dolphins and other species come back. What was your biggest high, if I can say that? What was the thing that gave you the most joy in this journey that you've been on? You are muted. You're muted.
There are two big joys for me that seeing dolphins and many other species came to the beach. And other joy is for me that many girls joined after me. And in particular, small city, they don't come easily and do not do that kind of social work and environmental work and field work. So it was very difficult for me also. And when I do this, and then so many girls joined me and they trust on me and then continue these works and they will continue to do this. So this give me a very big satisfaction for me that so many girls will do this work and will continue to do this. So it's a very satisfying thing for me.
Bravo to you. And I can only begin to imagine the challenges that you've had and how you have overcome them. It's so impressive. Rosamond, you have had so many ideas and so much trying with supermarkets and so on and so forth. Now, what would you say of all of these engagements that you had is the biggest success?
Okay, with all of these, I'll say that it's about the consciousness. I feel that at least people, managers at the mall, at the supermarket, they are now conscious about plastic waste. They are conscious about reusable bags. So even though right now I'm not in Ghana, but I believe that these efforts have made them conscious, and I'm sure they'll actually take a step. I'm still following up with them, even though the responses are not coming, but I'm not giving up. I know there'll come a time, maybe they'll just be fed up with my emails and they'll respond one day.
Well, maybe this is a good bridge to land with, Aditya, because you also spoke around awareness and what you've done on plastic straws and how you've raised awareness at the political level. What's your takeaway message for us all as we now have to close out? And then I hand it back to Dia.
Okay, so,
Sorry, thank you, Rosamond. I'm asking Aditya in India.
Thank you. So I just like to give everyone a simple message that follow, if you want to take up environmental activism, which you should, take a course which you're truly passionate about, something that would be interested to talk to someone, not for a media interview, but just as a fun conversation, as a piece of intellect, as something that you could just sit and converse with somebody on, something that you're passionate in. And if you follow your passion, you will do well. Don't focus on the quantity of the work, focus on the quality of the work you give, and never compare yourself with other people, because some person may have done something else, you're doing something else. It's an unfair comparison. You'll only feel disheartened if you feel disheartened by someone else's work. Don't. It's your actions are great enough, because in the field of environment, there are no actions too big or too small. And my last message is just refuse if you cannot reuse, to leave the world a little better than you found it.
Well, I can thank you so much, Dia. I'm bad time manager. I hand it back to you, but this was a fantastic conversation.
It absolutely was. And thank you for having it, Inger. And thank you to all our tide turners. You are amazing, each one of you. When I first became aware of the plastic scourge that the world is reeling under, the first question that I remember asking in Nairobi back in 2018, Inger, was, what are we doing about this plastic? And I can't tell you, I'm feeling so grateful and so inspired and so excited by the kind of action and the kind of momentum that we're gathering on beat plastic pollution. And I think that so many of our campaigns have really managed to permeate into people's consciousness. Of course, there's lots more work to do. Extended producers' responsibility is a very big piece of that pie that we really need to address. But hey, for all of you who haven't joined the Tide Turners Challenge yet, we have a pledge that Inger is going to lead. And all of you can silently raise your hand and, pledge to beat plastic pollution, become a part of this movement. Inger, please lead the pledge.
I will, but I think I don't know if Sam Barrett would like to reflect before I do that.
Right after that, Inger. Right after the pledge. So we do the pledge and I'm going to bring Sam in.
Okay, so everybody, we're going to raise our right hand wherever you sit in your dining room or wherever you're watching. You are saying, I now pledge that I will do all that I can.
I will do all that I can
to ensure that in my consumption patterns,
to ensure
so that in my consumption patterns,
I will reduce, I will refuse, and I will reuse.
I will
reduce, I will reuse.
Because that's the way we will make the world a better place.
Because that's the way
that is the way that make the world a better place.
That's it. Thank you so much.
Big thank you to you, Inger, and for everybody who's listening and participating. I would now like to hand it over to Sam Barrett from UNEP's Youth Education and Advocacy Unit to close this event and tell us all about the future of the Tide Turners Plastic Challenge. And I just want to end this by saying a very big thank you. I always go away inspired. I can't wait to continue engaging with all you incredible young people and meeting many, many more thousands along the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Dia. I can't stop smiling. That was such a nice hour. Thank you, Inger, for giving me your time. But thank you, Sneha, Alicia, Roshali, Mansi, Rosamond, and Aditya. It was really good to listen to you. And I think there's a change happening in this when something moves from a curriculum into a movement. And I think that's what we're starting to hear, which is a little bit of magic. And what I'm really enjoying is seeing people opening the loft hatch to leadership and really testing what else they can do. And just seeing that stretch about their power and their agency. And I'm just really, just enjoy that. It gives me energy and it gives me hope. And I think the tide turners are no longer pebbles in the ocean, but they're giant rocks. And they're moving in this spring tide up and down, moving things forward in a way that's just beautiful. So I just wanted to say your leadership gives me so much energy and also so much hope that there are a brilliant generation that are rising beneath us to do incredible things. And this is what youth leadership looks like. And many people didn't get a chance to speak, but your voices, I'm sure, would have been just the same. So I think where next is 4 things. Scale. We're working with the Scouts on their first ever environmental education app that will take this curriculum to 55 million youth. UNEP is investing in them to try and help the Scouts be that movement, but make that a white label for all youth movements to use. So it's not Scout exclusive, but it's open to the many. 2, impact. We put a level 4 on top of tide turners because we thought 3 wasn't enough. And we want to create the next generation of advocates that really can influence policy and are systemic in their thinking and are tenacious in their energy and don't take no. And so we've done some training with 2,000. We've done another training with 1,000. And there's a generation of level 4s that are on their way, and they are going to be awesome. 3, deepen. We're in 32 countries, but we want to go further. And with the funding from Jeff, we're going into the Pacific and we're going into the Caribbean. These are the victims of plastic pollution from many developed countries, and they need our greatest support, and that's where we're going. Finally, we're going to celebrate. We don't really look back behind us to see how far we've come to give us the sense of energy about where we go next. So I just think always having that holistic sense of, wow, what have we done? I never thought this was possible. Look at me. I think it's important for us to have those moments of acknowledgement. So that's the next 4 things, but I just want to pause for gratitude because I always have sometimes in my journey, I always say I'm almost like a diplomat-activist as opposed to a diplomat, because I was an activist in my past, and I think we're all activists in our present. But I think the youth that spoke today, thank you for all you gave us, and I think we've all learned and cherished that. Also the partners, so the Girl Guides, CEE, WWF India, Scouts, Junior Achievement, many of you have been like mavens and made this happen. Thank you for all you've brought, and trusting UNEP to be a partner that you can really hopefully work with on equal terms. But also the funding we get from the UK government makes this possible. And I think Freya's on the call. Thank you, Brian. If you're not, I'm going to say thank you anyway. Lord Zach Goldsmith, I don't think you're here, you're quite busy, but I'll say thank you anyway. And also the Jeff program are giving more money for elsewhere, and also the Nordics of Sweden and Norway. We wouldn't be doing this without you. So we want to work with governments to get them to see young people, not just people to turn up at events, but people to invest in to make the change happen in the world. I think investing in young people is the best programmatic investment you can make. And we're doing a poll of 10,000 youth to work out how can governments invest in them to make them the change makers the world needs. So I see young people not as a means to an end on the plastic problem, but a means to an end on every single systemic problem we face, whether it's SDGs or the environment. And we are going to get the governments to give you the support that you need to increase your power and agency in the world. So our role at UNEP is to really help you be the change agents. And we've only just started, and I look forward to seeing where we go next. So Dia, thank you for being a tremendous chair. Thank you for everyone that's contributed. Thank you for being here. And Inger, thank you for your time. And let's make the next Paris.
Bravo. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sam. I couldn't agree more with everything that you've said. This has been so exciting. Thank you, Inger. Thank you to all our tide turners. May you continue your action and keep inspiring. And of course, like Sam said, giving us hope. And I promise to be your partner in crime all the way. Namaste. Thank you, everyone else, for joining.
Thank you. Okay, I'm just going to say thank you so much, everyone who joined that call. I thought that was tremendous. So Dia, for your time, Shristi, I know you put a lot into this with everybody else, but thank you so much. That was tremendous.
Thank you, Sam. It was fun and inspiring, just like I said. And I'm just so encouraged by the fact that you've made such a big, such a big inroad into young people's lives, and they're doing so well. It really, really makes a big difference. Thank you.
Okay, we are signing off from here. See you in the next event. Bye, everyone, and thank you for being here.
Bye, everyone. See you.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye, ma'am.
Yes.
Gayatri, ma'am.
Thank you, Gayatri.